See, when we see this, software environment, OLTP, OLAP. Okay, OLTP referring to online transaction processing. Okay, online transaction processing, and OLAP, online analytical processing. Okay, so if you look at this, not only in okay, if you look at any ERP, let it be SAP or any other thing, we have two environments here. Okay, OLTP and OLAP environments. Our product SAP ECC, okay, or FICO, falls under OLTP environment. FICO is a module, ECC is a product, and we have to refer OLTP to the product. Okay, so ECC is OLTP, and what is OLAP? BW or BIW. Okay, these both are one and the same. Or in general sense, we call this as DW, data warehousing, BW, business warehousing, BIW, business intelligence warehousing. What are the terms? It will be same. Okay, intention is same. So these are the two environments here. And what is the environment you will be exposed to in general cases, like a OLTP environment. So what is the use of this OLTP and OLAP? Example, like we want the organization company wants to have a sales report. A sales report. For what purpose? It wants to plan for the coming future. It wants to plan the growth for the coming future. Okay, it want to also check into the demand and supply of the products. So it wants to strategize it. So in that scenario, it wants to have a sales report. In OLTP environment, online transaction processing environment, you can get the report of 2021, particular pertaining to any of the x number of periods. Okay, but for analysis purpose and analytical purpose, you also need to have a historical data for comparison. If it is for historical data is not stored in ECC. Historical data will be stored in BW. Usually if it is going with SAP product, then BW is the one. If it is going for third party other than SAP, then we can call it a data warehousing. Okay, so historical data can be pulled from OLAP engine or OLAP server, like for example 2020 or 2019, 2018. If you want to get all this data, this all data should be pulled from OLAP environments. Okay, environment in sense OLAP server, you can name it as a server or a solution, whatever the terms it may be. So OLAP, this system, OLAP system will store historical data, analytical purpose, analysis, predictive. So these are the two different servers. Remember this. Nature of the data. Nature of this is transactional data. The transactional data is storing in OLAP. This OLTP, it is storing the transactional data. OLAP is also storing the transactional data, but it is a historical data. So, however, today I thought of introducing few more terms which are essential to understand, the complete content of the course. Like one second, let me. I'll remove this. I'll erase this. Clear. remember this, the term called system landscape. System landscape. What is the system landscape referring here? Anyone understand? Anyone have an answer for this? What is the system landscape?
Different instances like dev instance, quality instance, and production instance.
Yeah. So when we are referring to SAP, when you are referring to SAP, so system landscape is the structure of the SAP servers, okay, or we can call them as instances, or we can call them as box, we can call them as solution, any other terms, okay, one and the same, the meaning would come one and the same. Now when you're talking about SAP, the product by default it comes with two servers, okay, the product itself comes with the two servers, okay, for easy conversation we'll talk it as servers, okay, we'll call it as servers. So one is development server or development client, okay. Another one is quality assurance client or server. This is a by default, the product which comes when we when the client purchases it, or when we purchase it, and deploy it. So this is the initial environment, but with this we will not do the implementation. When the implementation is agreed and when the implementation start, we will design what is the system landscape required, for the business to have the optimum solution for the client. So assuming that the client's business, based on the client's business, we understood and we recommend 3 server architecture or 3 system landscape, okay, 3 system landscape. That would be like dev is always there by default, QAs is also there, and production is also there. These are 3 systems or 3 servers architecture, okay. The landscape of your project would be dev, quality, and production. Some cases what happens, again this sentence which I'm going to say right now would be like referring to the client which has a necessity and a need for the future, retaining the configurations and all. Some cases what happens, based on the business, we have to copy this. So how the production server comes in or production client comes in? Production client is a copy of development client, whereas all the works which are done in the development client, all the neat configuration which is required to build the solution will be transported to production client, okay. So production client will have the neat configuration copy. To preserve this neat configuration copy, we can also, depending on the requirement, again this we will also make this as master client. There are different terms which are used for the business. I'm just using the regular terms. Or this can be a the intention is like this is a neat copy of the production client for the configuration purpose. And also initially sandbox, this is also one copy, okay. Like this, based on the requirement, looking for the future, we'll also recommend how many copies we should preserve for this client, for the business. Ideally what happens, 3 servers, development, QAs, and production servers will be there, and this is mandatory. The master clients and sandboxes, these are all sandbox also will be there. The master client, it is optional, okay. Depending on the severity of the project, we'll be doing it. Sandbox is a rough client, We call this as a rough client. Means you can experiment all your configurations. You can do all your R&D works. Why we are saying R&D or experiment here is, for example, you want to work on insurance module, whereas the configuration and the recommendation from SAP has a standard building block, but you want to expand that building block for the client business. So all the rough this is called rough client. You can do a lot of work here, so it will not impact your development client. It will not impact your development client. Whatever you are working is working in this sandbox only. It is not having an impact here. It is not having impact here. It is not having impact here. Okay. So once you see the configuration done, and once we understand that the desired result is coming with this configuration which is built, then yes, we work on development client. And once this is done, the process is sent to the production. What about the QAS? What is the purpose of quality assurance survey in that scenario? See, when we're talking about this QAS, let's say we have built the configuration in development client based on the blueprint study and realization of it. Now this configuration will be tested, and ultimately the same configuration should be available here. This is what the intention is, right? And this is called a solution. Now in this scenario, for sales report example, I'm coming back to the sales report only. A sales report, the standard report is not sufficient for the client, but it wants to go with the uh, weekly sales report. Okay, weekly sales report, assuming this is a requirement. And of course SAP also have the solution, but I'm just giving okay, I'll do one thing. I'll give a better example relevant to the finance side. Okay, just give me a second, I'll clear this out. So let's say we have development, QAS, and production. Assuming we have only 3 instances for our implementation. Now we know that there is a check payment, right? Check payment process. Usually what happens, companies will make the payments either in the form of bank transfer or check payments or any relevant negotiable instrument which is supporting to the instrument act, right? But there are countries in which companies will settle the payments in cash. Can you name some countries where payments still exist in cash? Anyway, let's not dig into that part at the moment. So here, let's say check payment. By standard SAP system, we have a check format. Okay, like some format like this: date, and then pay. Okay, this account numbers, and then signature and all stuff. Now this process, assuming is SAP, it is not available, but we have introduced this. We have introduced this. Now this is a new process which has been configured, and we have to make it available in the production server. So when we have to make it available in production server, this which is developed here should be tested here. Whether the functionality is adopting this check payment, whether the payment is printing this check at the time of posting the transactions. So we have to test the scenarios here. Once it is testing, once the test result is passed, then this process should be available in the production server. Okay, so whatever the additional work which is developed here will be sent for the testing part. Once approved, this one which is developed here will be sent to the production. So that is a simple way to understand. Okay, this quality server will not have any of the configurations. It is a posting transactions, availability of posting transactions. So we don't do any configurations here. Development, we do the configuration. Then What is sandbox then? Sandbox is totally out of, what you call, it's a rough client. It has nothing to do with this, nothing to do with this, nothing to do with this. Okay, it's a rough client. So you will be in the in the working environment. If the project is new for you, or some cases, like the company will ask you to work initially in the sandbox. They give the access to the sandbox. So you develop the sandbox, your configurations, and test it, and post the transactions into it. And then once you're thorough with this, then access will be given for the development line. It depends on how, the strategy is planned for the implementation, right?
Okay.
Okay. Legacy system, what is referring to the term called legacy system? Because we will be using all these terms, that's the reason I'm just introducing it. Legacy system. So let's say company is ABC. Okay, let's say company is ABC and it is using Oracle. Okay, Oracle as a software solution. Now this Oracle is called as Oracle environment is a legacy system environment for client. Okay, so ideally any non-SAP system is called a legacy system, because we are implementing SAP, right? So SAP is the solution, and legacy system would be non-SAP environment. So why company which is using non-SAP system like Oracle wants to move into SAP? There should be some strong reason, right? Can you just think of why this many implementations are going on? Why these many legacy systems have been changing into SAP? There should be some a valid reason, for a valid point, or valid need. Okay, first thing, why the environment needs a change for the client. Environment, when it is, this is a software system, software solution which we are talking about. So on this point, like software point, reports are the basis for all the business. We have to admit, we are financial account, we are financial consultants. Remember, all the implementation in finance standpoint, we have to understand that all the implementation is to fasten the report. Fasten the report. Why I'm saying this is, if you look at Oracle also have all the models, like it also have the cost effective model, or a strong integration with the applications. But when you pull a report, it is definitely not that speed enough as SAP is. Why do we need to have a report? Why do we think of a report which should come speed? Because the report which is coming at this moment will help us to understand how we can improve the next moment, right? Today's report is more valuable for the management to take a proper strategy steps to improve it. Okay, reporting is more faster in SAP. If you see reporting options, end into end combination of reports can be generated with the help of SAP solution. You name any of the report which you want, most of it is available in SAP system by default. If not, you can customize it. So any to end combination report is available. Next thing is, like, of course, speed is one part, like it should be accurate and it should be speed. And second thing is like cost model also. When we are talking about cost model also, now, though SAP system implementation is not less cost, it is more cost only, but the solution will stand for longer period with the help of updates, okay, from SAP. Okay, in that regard, it is also cost effective, and also it is having strong integration with SAP is also having strong integration within the modules, and it is more compactable and retrieving the data to form and pull up the reports. One disadvantage also there in SAP, like since it is having a very big integration between the modules, at times the performance degrades. The system performance degrades. It will be slow. For that reason, also SAP has provided alternate solutions. What is alternate solutions? If it has proposed like you can go with ECC. This is nothing but OLTP. Also for pulling up historical data, you go with the BW. Okay. So anyway, so this is something which most of the clients got attracted with SAP, and they started accepting the solution, accepting their solution in SAP system. Okay, fine. And so one more thing which I want to tell you is like ASAP methodology. See, every company which is doing implementation, will have their own methodologies. Remember that. IBM methodology for implementing SAP will be slightly different from some other company, like TCS or something like. So every company has their own methodology, but all their methodologies will be guided or will be based on ASAP methodology only. So we have to understand ASAP methodology here. If you understand ASAP methodology, whatever the client you are working for, whatever the company you are working for, you will understand the same their methodology also easy, because it will be more or less same. Maybe the terminology will be little different. Uh, so ASAP methodology, it has 5 phases of implementation. 5 phases. Okay. Project preparation, business blueprint, realization, final preparation, go live and support. Okay. So this project preparation phase, any person, any consultant who has worked from project preparation phase to the go live support phase, he can say that he had worked for end-to-end project or full life cycle project experience. Okay, they can claim like that. Any person who has come across worked with all the 5 phases of implementation, they can easily claim that they have end-to-end project implementation experience. And in training, luckily we will go with all these 5 phases in our training, and you can digest and get a glimpse of what is this phase for, and then how we can act in this phase. So at least it will give you some idea how to answer the questions at the time of interview, and how to get into the project work to understand these environments. Okay. Project preparation, business blueprint, realization, final preparation, go live and support. Okay. Now this project preparation phase, who will be handling this project preparation phase? And the qualifications, trying to give the qualifications of consultants or experience level. Project preparation phase, it requires high skill of domain knowledge as well as implementation experience, because you are directly meeting the client at this phase. Client interactions, understand the requirements, requirement gathering, all these things. Okay. And blueprint, it requires strong, again the same thing, strong domain knowledge. Okay, strong domain knowledge. Now realization is realization of blueprint. Whatever you have whatever you have collected, okay, you have collected the requirements and you have documented that these requirements, okay, in the blueprint form, and now we are realizing it, how good this will be coming into SAP system, how good this will be coming into SAP system, matching of it or realizing it. Final preparation, how good the data of the client, okay, data of the client is moved from a legacy system to SAP system, and how good the training to the end users have been deployed, and then the final preparation to move into the go live stage. And then go live is the system is, the solution is ready for OLTP, online transaction processing. Means end users already have a basic training, and then they are allowed to post it real-time day-to-day transactions. Okay, once the server is ready and once the server is hitting OLTPs, then support system. Support is the support, the issues could be of human errors, or it could be of table errors or configuration errors. So we have to understand it and give a solution to it. Okay, in the last RFP which I have shown, it is 6 months. Means client is clearly asking that if you are doing implementation, we are selecting you for implementation, you have to implement it. After implementation, after go live, next 6 months is the support we are expecting from you. After 6 months, yes, we may go with AMCs. Okay, ideally 6 months is what the client generally looks of, but depends on the volume, business volume, and the complexity of the implementation. And we are implementers. Okay, for example, I'll make this as, so the agreement has been made for this implementation, and agreement expectation is build the solution. Along with solution, once the solution is online, then 6 months initial handholding support, or 1 year initial handholding support. So this would be the discretion of the client. He decides it, what is the initial support which we have to give, initial day of supports. After this initial day of support, then let's say 6 months is what is agreed and 6 months is completed. So the moment the last month comes in, if the client is satisfied with this implementation partner on the support system, he will extend it based on the agreement between these two parties, again for 1 year or 2 years or another 6 months. See, ultimately remember this, if client is keep on depending on implementation partner for support system, it is incurring more cost, right? Periodically, once it is renewed, every renewal has a additional cost also. Why? Because the renewal cost will also be having the effect of a market. Okay, price increases. Price in the sense here, the service price we are talking, not the commodities. So there is an effect of this. Every new agreement, it will have a cost increase. So some other time the company should hire consultants in-house, hiring or external hiring, and have its own consultants, so that in the coming future, let it be 1 year after implementation, it should have its own employees. If it is an employee, the cost would be controlled. right? So that's the reason it takes a strategy of whether 6 months giving a contract or 1 year giving a contract for renewal. Now I would like to talk something about a business blueprint here. There is some point which I have to explain here, and then we'll look into the document. See this blueprint. Here it is a combination. Okay, we can understand like this. It is a combination of as is document, okay, and to be document, to be document. Existing process, and this is expected process. Okay, I mean any terms you can use, one and the same. So like this is how it is in legacy system. Okay, as it is in legacy system. Okay, the document which we are preparing or which we have captured all the process which is as it is in the legacy system. Okay, existing solution and expected solution, and to be is how it should be. For example, just as a system, see the solution is something like this. Okay, for FICO we are referring to, if it is like this, but in SAP system the structure is different. Okay, we should have like this. Now realization phase, what it happens, it tries to realize this. Okay, or else rather to say to be, we have to realize how good this as it can be bring into the to be process. Okay, structural difference is there. Obviously there will be structural difference. That's the reason I'm just using this example here, because if you see the legacy system table data, or you see the field data or the posting data, it will be different compared to SAP, right? So we try to map it from as is to be. If there is a difference, like for example one process which is in legacy is not available in SAP. For example, like payment with gold. Just for example, I'm saying the payment method is gold. This payment method gold is available in legacy. It is not available in SAP, for example. Okay. So what we have to do? That's a gap, right? We have identified a gap. Not this gap. This gap is different for us, and this gap is different for implementation. Okay. So we have identified a gap. Gap is the gap document referring here is it's a difference between the process of as is and a to be. Okay, the difference between as is and to be. So this gap will be first documented and identified, but will not stop the implementation at when we find a gap. We keep on moving to map it, but this will be documented separately, and we'll try to resolve it, finding a better solution if available in the existing system, if not altering and tailoring it for the nearest possible nearest possible options. Okay, so gap document is also important, as is document is also important, to be document is also important. Remember this. When we say that we have experience working in blueprint part, then you should also understand that blueprint consists of existing solution which is documented with the help of as is document and to be document, and also the gap document. We should be exposed to these documents. So at the time of interview, prepare few items which has a gap and how the resolution has been done for those gaps. Okay, I'll open the documents also at the time of our study. I have as is document, to be documents, and gap documents. Not only this, the structural questionnaire, what we have to collect, the way which we will be collecting in the initial stages. all those things will open. But see, again and again, and repeatedly say in all my sessions, like my side of training would be of more documented oriented and practically working on system. So you should have that patience to understand and read all the documents. See, ultimately you are investing your valuable time and money to get your career in a proper direction, right? So these are essential. Without learning the documentation, if you learn SAP only with the help of screens, at the time of interview you will struggle. At the time of work also you will struggle. This is my experience. Two more terms I'll introduce, and then we'll move into some. Okay, two more terms I'll introduce, and then we'll move on to some document here. One is FSD, functional specification document. One is technical specification documents. What is this, functional specification and technical specifications? Functional specification document or functional specification and technical specifications. Any basic understanding of it? The format of the check needs to be redesigned. Example, this is the scenario. And what is the fields to be redesigned? For example, this is pay line, pay amount, this is line, and then this is amount, and this is details of the bank. Okay, this is date, and signature. This is the fields example. Okay, just for example sake, I'm using this. Now, the process has identified that there is a requirement to change this. What are the fields to be changed? So the functional consultant comes up and say that, see, in this for this country, this payment date and then this amount, the details are to be filled at this block. Okay, just for example, I'm saying this details here normally is here, but it should be available here in this form, check form, and the signature should be available here at this form. Okay, so this is a requirement. So I say that, changes needed. Changes needed is like details of bank, and also signature. I had used these terms, right? Details of bank and signature in the functional easy way. So the document which is talking in the functional terms can be understood as a functional specification document. The same thing to the ABAPer, technical person. For programmer, the if you say details of the bank, functional terms he may be exposed to, or he may not be exposed to. So what we do, we'll try to give him in the technical table name, technical table field names. Okay. Example, these are field names. Okay. Example, this is not exactly field names, but in this field names, we'll make him to understand that these are the fields to be changed. And this is how we have to frame the check. So the communication for identifying the gap in functional way is referred to functional specification document. And the communication to the programmer in the technical table way will be in the technical specification document. Okay, just give me a second. Just be back in another, just a minute. I just want to close this call. So this is about FSD and all. We also will be working with these templates. But see, again, working with such kind of templates, first of all, you should have an understanding on the application level, the fields, field names, also the functional names as well as the technical names. Let's see. This is a log-on process. Of course, I think the support team should give you the server access by next session. So once we have the server access, they will give you the guidelines, guidance on how to set up the link to connect the server. Okay, and once we log in here, this is some basic screen where where you give the client details, giving your credentials, and then logging into the system. Now here, this is the initial screen. Initial screen. Okay. So SAP Easy Access screen, and then we have one more screen called IMG screen, implementation guide screen. Anyway, I'll show that also. So this SAP Easy Access screen, once you log into the system, this screen, earlier I had used the term OLTP, right? We can also consider this screen as a OLTP screen, OLTP menu, where end users of the organization will use this screen for posting the transaction, their day-to-day transactions, posting their day-to-day transaction as per the job roles. Okay, and then for configurations, we have a consultant screen, or sorry, IMG screen, which is where we do the configuration and set up this environment so that the end users of the organization can utilize the configuration and post their business transaction into system. Oh, is it? Let me unmute you, Ruchit. See, this slide actually talks a lot. Usually, when we are working with SAP system, we also need to understand the regular business, regular business structure, and then SAP business structure. Okay. If you see this enterprise structure terminology, this is not only talking about the terminology, it has also a very a big information, right? So enterprise levels, usually we general business we see enterprise level, it is termed into client. Okay, what is a client here? Technical definition is there, as well as functional definition is there, and business definition is there for client. Okay, all the definitions are given in SAP documentation notes when you work with SAP system. And the process and the best practice for learning and understanding the subject is read the documentation given by SAP system. And then here company and subsidiaries, sister concerns or subsidiaries, all those things, they are treated as company code level in SAP system. So as factory, this communication, this terminology here, factory, which is referred to the plant, sales organization, department, division, business areas are divisions here, warehouses are storage locations here. See how an identification of a unit, this is a unit, right? Company code is becoming a unit here, a plant another unit, sales organization another unit, divisions one unit, storage location one unit. So there is a significant definition in terms of business, in terms of application. Remember that in terms of business is this one. Okay, regular terminology. In terms of application is SAP. So we have to understand this too, so that the configuration steps and understanding the business would be easy. Okay, I'll just explain one small example to give you how we should analyze the data, whether it is a learning, whether it is implementing. Okay, I'll give one small example. Remember this enterprise, which is nothing but a client, company and subsidiaries, company codes, factory and plant. Factory is a plant. So here the point is company in regular business, subsidiaries in regular business treated as company code. So I'm going to take up this small point. I'm going to explain you in the whiteboard. Now let's say again I go with this ABC as a enterprise of which, okay, let me take up one a real example. Can you just name Any of group of company?
Reliance.
Okay, Reliance group of companies. Under Reliance group of companies, you have different companies, right? Like Reliance Petroleum Limited, Reliance Consulting Services. Okay, so there are so many, but I'll just take two examples here. So these are two companies, for example. These two companies are working or under the belt of Reliance group of companies. When you look at the SAP system, these two are at company code levels, and this becomes a client, right? Enterprise level, right? So let me elaborate this a little bit. Oh, instead of this oil and this thing, okay, I'll take one more example. For conversation, it will be easy. Aditya Birla Group, okay. In this, we have Grasim India Limited, Ultratech Cements, okay, and Aditya Birla Neuro. Okay. Likewise, so on, or there are a few more. But let's say Grasim India. These are all company codes, right? Company codes. So let's say we'll just talk about this Grasim India Limited now. In Grasim India Limited, we have studied that there are two plants, okay, and three warehouses or storage locations, okay, warehouses or storage locations. Now, when we are trying to analyze this, when we are trying and studying this, now these two plants, out of these two plants located, one plant is actually doing external reporting. Doing external reporting. What is this external reporting means? Means one plant is doing external reporting, one plant is doing internal reporting. So what does this mean? It has a meaning for us. That's the reason, as a functional consultant, it has a meaning. That's the reason I am taking this example at this stage. Statutory reports. So statutory reporting means what it is. It is understood that this is a business entity which is publishing the financial statements to shareholders, general public, along with the statutory boards, okay, taxing authorities. In this scenario, this plant which is doing the external reporting, according to SAP, becomes a company code by default. Understand this. Usually what we are saying, Grasim India Limited, Ultratech, ABN, these are all company codes in terms of SAP, right? But when you look into the definition of a company code in SAP, a unit which has a separate accounts, which are maintaining separate accounts, as well as which does the external reporting, then it should be treated as a company code. In that scenario, what happens? GIL itself is one company code, and one of the plant also becomes a company code in SAP. Got it? So importance of organizational units will be understood well when we understand the regular business and SAP definitions of those organizational units. Now for me, the moment I understand external reporting, then I clearly understand that this is an additional company code. And when I say it's additional company code, obviously the structure for Grasim India Limited would be like, it will pull up the consolidated balance sheet, because there are two company codes here, right? Also, it will also have common chart of accounts. It also have common GL accounts. So this structure I will understand immediately. Quickly I can realize, okay, these are the configurations which I need to implement for this solution. Okay. Anyway, this see, since I am exposed to the SAP system, I am talking with reference to that picture in my mind. Since you guys haven't seen the screen yet, so this will look something as a raw picture without any structural images coming in. So for now, this is how it is. In the next session, I hope we'll get a server access. Once we have the server access, the game will change. The all explanation will change. Documentation will be there, as well as practical unit identification also will be seen there. For Grasim India Limited, we have seen plant Mumbai and plant Chennai, and then also we have business areas, okay, separate business areas, and business areas like one is a service based business area, one is location based. Location based means, again, let's say we have Delhi and we have Kerala, for example, just for example, okay, one business area location, Delhi and Kerala. Now we have seen this structure. Now I'm trying to map this structure into SAP system. While doing this mapping, when I had a collection of the data for this organization unit, this plant, I came to know that this plant is also doing external reporting. It is also maintaining its own set of books of accounts, and it is doing like this. Usually those are the things which are done at this level. At company level or company code level, in terms of SAP, we have our own set of books of accounts, okay, books of accounts, and then we'll do the external reporting. That is how we treat a company code in SAP. When we observed this, we also found that this plant Mumbai is also behaving the same way. But regular business, Grasim India Limited is a company, private limited, registered under the company law, whereas plant is under the part of Grasim India Limited, regular business. But in SAP, this will not be allowed. Since the nature here is changing, what happens? It is also behaving like the same company code. So in this scenario, we have to, there is no other solution. We have to create one company code as Grasim India Limited, another company code as Grasim India Limited Mumbai plant. We bring it as a company code here. Company code means that it has its own set of books of accounts. It is also doing the external reporting. It is also preparing the balance sheets and financial statements at this level. So any organization unit in regular business, if it is have same nature and behavior, in SAP, we have to make it to that level of company code.